Albert Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So what's the first thing that I learned the hard way when starting a private practice is that nobody really wants to pay you cash. Starting a cash pay practice is very, very difficult. When I first started off, I was a little bit naive and I thought that when I opened my practice, all the people that I saw before, they're going to want to see me and pay cash. But in fact, most people want to use their insurance. They pay a hefty amount of money for their insurance on a monthly basis, and they want to be able to utilize that, especially if they have a good plan. It is very difficult to start a cash pay practice. And also keep in mind that when people are paying you cash, they expect something in return, whether or not that's increased access to you, quicker response to messages, or controlled substance medications. Some people will say that doesn't happen, but I think subconsciously it definitely happens. There have been instances when patients would lose their insurance for whatever reason, say they were switching to a different job, and I had previously thought that they would want to see me and continue seeing me because we had a very good relationship and pay cash to see me, but that really doesn't ever happen. It's really hard to start a cash pay practice unless you're in the Bay Area or New York City. Point number 2 of things that I learned the hard way is that people will ghost you and you can never really figure out why. You might have had a really good relationship with them and then they'll just cancel the next appointment, fall off the face of the earth, and you can never contact them ever again. It's really disconcerting for a therapist or a psychiatrist because you have such a close bond with an individual. You know a lot of their personal information, and it's very unsettling when somebody just doesn't ever talk to you ever again. My hypothesis is that something came up in their life and they felt that they couldn't talk to you and they felt embarrassed to tell you about it. So they preferred the passive route and just not even bring it up and not talk to you. Point number 3 of things that I learned the hard way, and this kind of dovetails off of point number 2, is that collections agencies, they're just not that successful at collecting payments. We've sent a number of accounts receivable over to collections and they've collected nothing, and this is pretty consistent with other colleagues that I have in therapy and private practice who have also not collected anything. The collections agency that we worked with would collect 25% of the collected amount, but when you're collecting a fat, solid 0.00, 75% of 0.00 is nothing. Therefore, we found it in our best interest and in the patient's best interest to develop a payment plan. That way we can avoid the expenses of going to collections. So difficulty in contacting a patient who has gone ghost is not just you, it's not just me, it's actually difficult for a lot of people. Apparently you can just go ghost on collections as well, and they can't find you. I never knew that, but apparently that's the case. Point number 4, and this is advice to become a good therapist and good psychiatrist in general, and that's to always uphold your boundaries because you never know when a relationship with a patient or client is going to sour. The vast majority of patients and clients are awesome people, but that 1%, even 0.1% of people, you just never know if they heard what you said and they're going to interpret it a little bit differently than what you intended. So it's always in your best interest to uphold boundaries, because if you have a boundary crossing or a boundary violation, and then that relationship sours and it goes awry, then that can come back to bite you in the butt. Number 5, and this is similar to the unpredictability of relationships in number 4, and that's when hiring. When you're hiring, there's a saying in private practice, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. Because you want to bring people on board who are going to really work well with you and the team and play well in the sandbox. You don't want people who are going to cause a lot of issues for you. And believe me, that can happen. There have been stretches of time where I'll go months and the biggest headache is other employees, not patients. So I always know it's a point of vulnerability if I'm hiring under pressure, trying to hire very quickly, hiring somebody who's not a word of mouth reference. I prefer to not be under any pressure when hiring very slowly, and hiring word of mouth references. Do your due diligence and doing a background check and checking references of individuals who have been that person's supervisor in the past. I hope this video was helpful in letting you know what was very difficult for me to overcome, things that I learned the hard way, and that's A, not everybody wants to pay you cash, they want to use their insurance. People can fall off the face of the earth. Collections agencies also can find that clients fall off the face of the earth and they can never contact them again. Relationships with patients can turn on a dime. And then when you're hiring, you also want to make sure you're hiring enthusiastically, not when you're under pressure. My name is Dr. Bassi, I'm an addiction psychiatrist in outpatient private practice. If you're interested in more educational videos on private practice, please subscribe, hit the notification bell for future videos, and give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think is the most common mistake in starting a private practice. What types of mistakes do you think you'll make when starting your practice, and what steps will you take to try to avoid those?